Hi, everyone. It is Crystal Swearingen with Crystal Spot Podcast. I'm super excited today to introduce you to our guest, Phebe Trotman, coming in from Vancouver, Canada this early morning for her, afternoon for me. Phoebe is an entrepreneur. She has a both athletic and professional career that has exceeded many of our goals and expectations as a professional athlete. She has been inducted into multiple sports hall of fames in the soccer industry. She's won championship titles and she's been recognized as an exceptional athlete. She also excelled in her career as a network marketer, earning top awards and recognition within her company. Putting those skills and industry experiences and athletic experiences together, she's a champion for personal growth and believes that reaching one's full potential creates a ripple effect of inspiration and motivation. And you guys have been following me for a while, checking out the podcast, the magazine. You know, we're all about inspiring and motivating and empowering other people. And that's kind of why we connected. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you today and to learn more about all the things you're doing and your book that's called Never Quit on a Bad Day. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Phoebe.
Thank you so much, Crystal, for having me. I'm super excited, thrilled to be here. I love what you're doing with the magazine and your podcast, just sharing stories and inspiring people. So truly honored to be here.
Great. Well, let's start off real quick and just say, tell us a little bit about your journey from being an accomplished athlete to now your network marketing and then where you're at right now. How did this begin?
It's so interesting. Well, life is full of twists and turns, as we know. So I was playing soccer. I was working at the time while I was playing. And so I had graduated from university. I started my kind of professional career, if you will. And I was working at a computer company. And I just was really uninspired at my job, if you will. And so on the side, I kind of started learning more about personal development. I started reading and I kind of got excited about this idea of, having my own business, if you will. And so I started with what I knew, which was soccer. So I started a coaching company with a teammate of mine. And again, I was doing all this on the side. And a friend of mine had recommended I read a book. And so I read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which was light bulb moments for me. Yes. With the idea of this passive residual income, I started to learn more like what that means. And for anyone listening, if you're not familiar with the terms, passive residual income is basically you work one time and you get paid over and over again. And so I wanted to learn how to create that. And a friend of mine had shared a service with me. And when he shared it with me, I thought, well, I can use this for my coaching company. And so that's kind of how I started off, just using it more so as a service. And then, God stepped in, and sometimes when you won't make a move, he makes that move for you. And
Yes,
I was doing all this and it was working pretty well in terms of just kind of having these side projects that I'd finish, especially at my job when in between downtime. And unfortunately, the computer company went bankrupt and I was laid off. And so in being laid off, it was kind of a mix of emotions, roller coaster, where, once I had the chance for the news to settle, it was like, okay, well, yay, I don't have to go to work. And then it was like, oh my gosh, well, what do I do? I have bills to pay. And so that's when I kind of looked forward at my life and went, what do I want my life to look like in the next, 3 to 5 years? And I realized that with this network marketing company, it would give me the flexibility to be able to, travel. I wanted to be present for my friends and family and just have that opportunity to kind of build a business from anywhere. And so with that, in terms of my soccer career, I loved playing. I still play to this day. So all this is kind of going on at the same time. And I just realized, with kind of this next chapter, I had come to a place in kind of soccer, and I believe it was the year before I got laid off. I'd have to actually look at a calendar. It's been several years. So, but I kind of realized that I came to a place where I was ready to start that next chapter. And so I really wanted to focus on building this business, being an entrepreneur. I wanted to be able to, just again, with soccer, as much as I loved it, I had missed a lot of family events and things like that, being on road trips. And I kind of realized that I was ready for the next chapter, if you will. And so in retiring from soccer, in terms of the professional side, I knew I was going to still play. And so I do still play to this day. And I got started, as an entrepreneur, and here we are 17 years later. And it's been an incredible journey with lots of bumps in the road, if you will.
Wow, you look so young. How have you been doing anything for 17 years? Drop your
And
skincare regimen later.
You have a child. You have some children there, so you don't look like you're old enough to have them either. So
oh, yes.
so
I keep my... Thank you. The DNA and it helped a lot. I will say that I tell my daughter now that she's getting ready to have a birthday in October to not quit telling people her age. At this point, we're going to just say she's she's over 21. That's all we need to know.
There you go. Exactly. No one needs to know. It's just happy birthday. That's it.
Yeah,
No number
exactly.
attached.
Well, I love what you said there, and I was telling another lady yesterday, I've gotten so tired of that PIVOT words. I don't even want to say it again. But I love what you said when you didn't make a move, God forced the move. And one of the things that I really liked about hearing your story is you took time to develop, like, what is my long-term plan? Even in the midst of doing one thing, you were looking beyond that. Because I think a lot of us get so complacent in, well, this works today, and we're taking care of everyone else, your kids or your spouse or your friends or your parents, that you don't think of what your future is. So you've basically designed what you wanted your life to look like over time. And I think that's pretty amazing. Do you feel like being able to see the long projected goal of something like that, your athletic background really helped you in devising that plan?
I feel so. I mean, I've learned so many life skills in terms of
Yeah.
being an athlete. And I do think being an athlete, we're very goal oriented people,
Yes.
whether it's winning this championship or winning this game or getting a starting position or, making a team. There's always things that you're focused on, kind of like what's next and looking
Hmm.
forward. And so when I was laid off, it was a chance to sort of evaluate and think, going forward, what do I want my life to look like? And I share this so many times with team members, with friends, family, colleagues, like, it is so important to know where you're headed, especially because I find for me, when I have, there's an exercise that I've done, and I share it a little bit in the book, and
Okay.
I can share more about it if we have time. But
Yeah.
basically, it's kind of looking forward and designing that day. Like, what does your dream day look like? And in doing that, then you can kind of make decisions in the present. Is it taking you closer to living your dream day? And I had
Mm.
an idea of what I wanted my life to look like in terms of having that flexibility and freedom and different things from a time perspective. And so in doing that, then I was able to make decisions today for what I want to go and where I want to head in the future. And I think that is really important, even in the midst of, a lot of things going on. Can people just take a moment and look forward and go, well, where do I want to end up, if you will? Because
Mhm.
sometimes it'll pivot, it'll twist, right?
Yes.
Things will go a
Yeah.
different way. But if you can kind of have a general idea, the path may be a little bit different, but you have an idea of where you're headed long term.
I have found so many people who excel at athleticism, excel in business. And I think what you said, you get so many life skills from that. That's one gift I always tell people, if you have kids, which mine didn't listen to me, put them in sports. You learn how to win, you learn how to lose, you learn how to plan. And I feel like there's a great gift there. All right. And with all of the success you've had and like stopping your past career to get your journey forward, what are some of the obstacles and challenges you've had to overcome and creating this new life for yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, well, there's a lot of bumps in the road because I wasn't planning at. I did realize at some point I wanted to be, if you will, a full-time entrepreneur.
Mhm.
However, being laid off at the time, I wasn't ready for that jump right then and there. I probably would have still. I don't even know what in terms of my plan for timeline, but I would have, in hindsight, had I had the opportunity, I probably would have kept doing my businesses on the side until they were
Yes.
generating enough income and then, transition out of that full-time job into being an entrepreneur. However, it didn't quite work out like that. And so in the beginning, there was a lot of bumps because I went from having this income that I was used to having as a full-time
Yeah.
employee to now I'm relying solely on my income as an entrepreneur. And I didn't know what I was doing. My background was in kinesiology and nutrition. That's what I studied at
Yeah.
school. I was this athlete. And now here I am in this entrepreneur life. And, thank goodness it was network marketing that I first started, where I could lean on mentors, I could lean on
Mhm.
the system they created. But even in doing that, sometimes in the beginning, it's like, well, I think I can do it this way. And I wasn't consistent. I'd work one day and then I'd be like, oh, I can take the next day off or the day after that. And so it was a lot of, in having inconsistent activity, I had very inconsistent results. And so at the
Mm.
beginning, it was hard because it was, I wanted things to go faster. I wanted this, I wanted that, but I wasn't putting in the work to have those results. And so again, thank goodness for mentors who lovingly shared, well, look at your activity. If you
What you're
want the
doing.
results, you
Yeah.
gotta, yeah, exactly. You gotta look at the activity. And so once I made that switch then and started having consistent activity, it still took time, but I was able to start having the consistent results. And that's one of the tough things, is as an entrepreneur, you have to look
Definitely.
in the mirror and you have to ask those questions. Would you hire you? Because if you wouldn't
True.
hire you, then there's something you need to look at. And sometimes you need to fire yourself, have a tough conversation, and rehire yourself yourself right after and get to work, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you and your activity and what are you putting in to get the results out of it.
Exactly. And sometimes you have to fire yourself from a certain position. Like maybe that's not what you should be doing for your company. You need to hire someone else. I love what you said because I own a real estate brokerage. That's my full-time gig, I always say. And I did the same thing. I got into being an entrepreneur. I'm like, oh, I'm a realtor. I sold one house and, ball out. Like,
Of course.
and then didn't sell anything for a year. And I was
Wow.
like, am I planting the seeds? And I learned so much from mentors and coaches. And I always encourage anyone going into a new industry or business, get someone who will talk to you. You may not be able to talk to people in your community or people who are in your same arena there, but the internet is amazing. Like my first mentor was a realtor out of Arizona, and I'm in Kansas City, who was like, here's what I'm doing. And she had no fear of sharing because I'm not competition. And I learned so much, but you're right. You have to do those consistent behavior and consistent routines to get consistent results. So let's talk about your book, Never Quit on a Bad Day. What inspired you to write this book? What's the background on that?
Yeah, Crystal, it's so funny because if we were talking a year ago this time and you said, okay, well, next year you're going to have a book out, and, I would
Yeah.
have laughed. I honestly would have been like, ha, ha, ha. Again, though, it's so interesting how sometimes God just moves you. And so I was
Mhm.
actually with a couple good friends, and they've created a lot of success in their online business. And we're just chatting kind of about what's next for us. And I had shared that it's been on my heart for many years to create something. I've
Yeah.
been inspired and helped by so many mentors, as you said, some are near, some are far. I've had a chance to learn from a lot of people, and I wanted to create something to help other people. And I didn't know what it
Definitely.
was going to look like. And they suggested, they're like, well, why don't you write a book? And I kind of chuckled because I have had people over the years who have said that. And I've just been like, you know what? There's a lot of people who should write a book and they're writing books. I'm good. I'll figure something else out. And I had been earlier that day, we were chatting about our businesses, and I had shared with them that one of the reasons I was really, really inspired to hit the top rank in my network marketing company is because I wanted people to see that someone else could do it.
Yeah,
Representation is just so important, in
definitely.
diversity. And I just wanted people to see, like, you know what, a woman can do it, a single woman, a colored woman, like it's just so
Yes.
many things. And so I went for it. I have an amazing team. So shout out to my awesome team. And I was able to hit that. And so when in sharing that, they kind of flipped it back on me and they said, well, remember how you said why you work so hard to hit the top is rank? Well, that's the same reason you should write a book, for the people it can help, for the people you can inspire by doing it. And so when they flipped it like that, and that's why, again, make sure you're listening, surround yourself with
Yes.
great people, because when they shared it and flipped it like that, then I was like, okay, well, I'm open to the idea, except I knew if I write a book, it has to do two things. Number one, it has to inspire people and help people.
Hmm.
And number two, I have to feel passionate about this book, passionate about this project. And so I wasn't sure what direction I was going to go in. And then that night I was kind of brainstorming, simmering on it a little bit more. And the month before, I had the incredible privilege and honor. I was inducted into the Coquitlam Sports Hall of Fame, and that's the city that I
Oh,
grew up in. And
amazing.
thank you. And
Yeah.
we had an interview. And in that interview, the interviewer asked me, what are some of the life skills that you've learned through
Mhm.
sport, or what has sport given you? And in that, I shared how, I've learned so many amazing things from sport. What those life skills that you get on the
Yeah.
field, that you learn, that you take off the field and just continue on. And so when I shared that with them, I realized, a lot of the life skills that I've learned through sport, and a lot of the incredible highs that I've had through sport, winning national championships, receiving, NAIA Player of the Year and MVP of
Yeah.
different things. The only reason I was able to have all those highlights and those life skills was because of all the tough stuff. The not
Mm.
making a team, the sitting on the bench and wanting to play, getting 5 minutes in a game and wanting to be a starter, like all the frustrating things and pushing through them is the only reason I was able to have some of those highs. And so that night when I was simmering on this book idea, I realized that's what I want to share more of that,
Yes.
because I truly believe that when we start sharing more of the tough stuff that we go through as people, entrepreneurs, athletes, couples, etc., then people know that they're not alone in it, and they can have hope in that you can get to the other side. And so I had the idea, I was excited about the idea. And then in terms of a name, Never Quit on a Bad Day, I had heard that saying years and years ago, and it always stuck with me. And so then I was like, okay, Never Quit on a Bad Day. Like, this would be a great name for a book. And so I
Yeah.
do this thing with God. I call it like my open the door, close the door. And so I said, okay, God, if this is the direction to go in, open the door. The URL Never Quit on a Bad Day will be available. If it's not the direction or the name, then close the door, the domain will already be taken. And so when I got home, I kind of put it in and looked it up and it was available. And I was like, oh no, that means I have to do it,
You
right?
have to really do it now.
At that
You made a
moment where
deal.
I was still hoping the door might close a little bit, but it was available. So I got the domain, and then I just got really excited about it because I had always wanted to create something and combine kind of my
Yeah.
athletics and my business background into something. And so here we are. It's been out since July, and incredible feedback. And I'm just so grateful to everyone who helped to make this book possible, and all the people who've read it and just how they've been touched by it.
That's so exciting. And I think I love what you're saying about telling the hard part of the journey. That's one of the things I always ask in every interview of the magazine is, when I started the magazine, I didn't want it to be just all CEOs. I didn't want to be like a business magazine that only celebrates you when you're at the top. I want to learn who you are in the beginning. And we've had people we've interviewed who kind of were one place. And now, I mean, we have one lady who was a realtor and she was doing really well, but now she's on a hit TV show. And I like to follow their journey throughout all of it because I think that we feel through social media, like we're only seeing people's highlight reels, especially with Instagram. I'll say that. I think Facebook, you kind of get more real with people on Facebook, but when you're telling your story, what people relate to is kind of sometimes what you said, the down parts, like not making the team, saying, hell, I want to have 7 minutes of playing instead of 5 minutes, setting goals and having metrics for those goals. And I think that's how we really learn and we grow. And I love that. So in your book, who is your ideal audience to read your book? Because obviously we're going to talk about where they can buy it and we're going to support you. And I do want to do a giveaway for your book. For those who listen, I'll have the contest rules in the bio at the bottom where you can find out how you can sign up to win the book.
Very cool. Yeah. So this book is really for anyone who has set a goal, and in that goal, they've faced bumps in the road. They've been discouraged. They've been frustrated, disappointed. They have dreams. They're people who want to move ahead in life, and they've just had stuff that has happened, whether it was something that happened that you felt was super unfair, or it was just something that didn't go the way you wanted in the timeline you wanted it to go on. Because this book, there's stories, and I was really intentional about the stories. The people I asked, it was interesting how the stories came out, because it was really just the people I wanted to ask are people who have had a personal impact in me in terms of my journey. And I just know they're incredible people with amazing stories to share. And the stories are so different. That's what I've been so excited about, is just to see how it's come together in terms of the variety of the stories. And everybody can get something out of this book in terms of inspiration. And at the end of every chapter, there's a section called Reflections on Resilience. And this section is for the reader to have a pause. So you can read this short story, and then there's an exercise at the end of every story for the reader to kind of go through, because I truly believe we're all very resilient. Sometimes we just forget. Sometimes we don't remember just how resilient we are. And so the exercises are designed to help the reader kind of remember, reflect, grow. And there's also a QR code as well that you can scan, and it leads to a video from the contributor. And so the video is very different than the story. I want maybe everyone to know that, because some people think it's just a video of the story, and it isn't. It's just a video, a short message of encouragement, so you get a chance to kind of meet that person in another way. And so it's a book for anyone who is just wants more out of life and might be feeling a little bit discouraged, or things are rocking and rolling, things are great, keep going. It's a book for that as well too.
Where can we buy your book at? Where is it available at?
Yeah, so the book is available on Amazon. So you can go to
Okay.
Amazon and just punch in Never Quit on a Bad Day. For anyone listening, if you're able to get the whole book, go to Amazon, grab it. If you're going through a tough time, you can go to my website, which is just neverquitonabadday.com, put in your email address, and you'll actually get a free chapter of the book. And I was really intentional on that chapter because it's all about belief, and it's all about language, and just it's a chapter that everyone will benefit from. So if you're able to get the whole book, go to Amazon, you can grab it there. If you're, times or whatever, just get that chapter, read through it, and take it to heart. It has the same reflections on resilience in there. It has the QR code to an incredible story that I know will just have an amazing impact on people.
You guys heard her. Please go to her website, neverquitonabadday.com. And make sure you go to Amazon and order that book. If you go ahead and like this video and you share it with a friend and comment below that you've done both, we will be giving away a free book. So thank you so much. Where's your social media? Where can they find you online?
Yeah, so you can go to Never Quit on a Bad Day. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook in terms of the Never Quit on a Bad Day community. Also in terms of personal, on Facebook, it's just Phebe Trotman, Phebe, Phoebe, no O. And on Instagram, just flip it, it's Trotman Phoebe.
Love it. Thank you so much for joining us today and being willing to share your story. I'm super excited. We'll do this giveaway. I'm excited to get the book. I'm going to go download this free chapter right now because, as you said, no matter where you're at, it's always good to have inspiration. And I was going to compliment you. I love how it's interactive, that you can get the book with the QR code with the video, because as we're learning more about how people learn and retain information, how important is that? So thank you so much for what you're doing. I appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Crystal. It's an honor, and I'm just excited for everything that you're doing, all the lives that you're touching. So thank you so much for having me today.
This episode is brought to you by Crystal Spot Mag.